So welcome to Árbær Open Air Museum. We are gonna check out how Icelanders celebrated Christmas in the old days, and we're gonna discover some how they celebrated in the 1950s, 1900s. This is an open air museum, so old houses from the center of Reykjavik have been moved here, and we're able to discover some of the old Christmas traditions of Iceland. So I'm gonna switch the camera over here. So as you see, Árbæjarsafn, Árbær Open Air Museum, and they have different exhibitions every year. So it's a fun thing to check out when you're in Reykjavik, when you finally arrive to Reykjavik. But let's go inside. So Árbæjarsafn. So there are a couple of people here. I need to put on my mask. And remember, you don't need to click on any links. These are just scammers that are trying to cheat you, try to get you your credit card details. So just ignore these buffoons. So this is one of my favorite books for the boys, my boys, two boys. They love to read about the Icelandic Yule Lads, or the Icelandic Santas, and this is a pretty nice depiction of them by Brian Pilkington. And if you have the opportunity, you can check him out on Amazon. I got some cool items over here. Well, so here you see some statues of the 13 Icelandic Santas, or Yule Lads, and their mother, the ogress Grýla. A Christmas cat over here, and Leppalúði, the lazy one. Yeah, we're gonna slowly I'm gonna try to relax, not move too fast, give you time to see some things over here. I felt like I moved too fast when I did the first one. So now I'm gonna take it a little bit more easy. And look at this structure over here, this Christmas tree over here. It will play a later part in our story here today. So we're gonna meet one of the caretakers of the museum. We're not gonna, of course, check it all out, but we're gonna check out some of it.
Good day. Welcome to the museum. So this museum was founded in 1957, and at the time they were tearing down lots of the old houses, but there were groups of people who wanted to preserve these houses, and there was a farm here named Árbær, and they decided to make this museum to preserve the houses here. So all of the houses have been moved here except for the farm. Yes. So, is there anything else you want to know?
No, I think we're just gonna go walk with you here, and here is the layout of the museum. So this is the entry point over here.
This is
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. And then here is the old farm it dates back from the 19th century, but they used to rebuild constantly. So the
oldest part is 1850.
1850, yes. But there were talks about this farm from the 15th century. So there's been a farm here for a long time. So let's check out the Christmas display over here. See a Christmas tree over here, and here are a couple of old houses. One of them over there is a toy museum. Maybe we'll check that out in a later stream. And we're going over here. We're going to check out how a pretty wealthy family in Reykjavik celebrated their Christmas in 1959. The sign over the door here says Yule Lads, or Christmas ball, and that's a really rich tradition here in Iceland. That your families come together and you would dance around the Christmas tree, singing songs, of course, eating cake and having a merry time. And if you're lucky, you get a couple of Santas, Yule Lads, to drop by, and they bring maybe a couple of clementines or maybe a little bit of treats for the kids. So Christmas Day 1959. And keep in mind that at the time, Christmas trees were beginning to become widely available. We don't have a lot of trees here in Iceland, and so only the most wealthy families had their own trees. So the poor people wanted to be like the rich people, so they made their own trees.
You can see that in some of the houses.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we're gonna discover that nicely layered table with some cookies, stuff. I must find a way to get rid of these spammers. I'll figure out a way to get rid of you, but that's another story. Here you can actually, we are crazy about books here, and the Open Air Museum has a surplus of books, and you can basically take whatever you want and of these books and have a merry time to read something over the Christmas time. We have a thing called the Christmas Book Flood, and we are most everybody gets some books for Christmas presents. 80% of the books released before each Christmas is released before Christmas. Yeah, before each year, sorry. And here we have a Christmas ball. So some presents over here. And then the Christmas tree, of course, and enough space to dance around it. Do you hear that singing going on? This is what we do before we going into church. They are singing. This is a very traditional, like for these Christmas balls or dances to be here. So you see a red Santa over there, but they are always they have these clothes, these red Santa clothes, like pardon my pun, the Coca-Cola Santa, but still they bear the names like Candlebagger and Stubby and so forth. So you would basically be dancing here around the Christmas tree, holding hands, and you know, like maybe just a couple of rows of people, or 3 rows even. So it got sometimes a little bit crowded. And this is still a tradition today, actually. You know, we are still fond of bringing the kids and enjoying some cake and so there's a survey done a couple of years ago that we have 13 Santas here in Iceland. 13. It's not enough for us to have one, of course. And so their names are Sheep-coated Clod, Stekkjastur, Giljagur, Gollygog, Stubby or Stúfur. And then we have Þvörusleikir, basically spoon liquor. We have Pottasleikir, which is pot liquor. We have what's it called? I am always mistaking this. The third. His name is Askasleikir in Icelandic, but dish liquor. Let's say that dish liquor. And then we have door slammer, scare gobbler. We have
Window peeper.
sausage striper, window peeper, and candle beggar, and I'm losing one. But the most popular Santas in Iceland are 30% of the votees. They like Stubby, Stúfur, and 28% like candle beggar. But the three licking ones, the pot liquor and dish liquor and bowl liquor, and they are least liked by people here for some reason. So let's go inside over here. So like I said, all these houses, this house over here is the first two-story apartment building built in Reykjavik, 1852. And this here, the oldest part of this house, date back from 1832, if I remember it correctly. So pretty old houses. These are of course being saved because they want so a home in Reykjavik circa 1925. So which was the circle? What's the best circle?
Well, on this side is a wealthy family living, and on this side is a widow that's renting. So it's like two homes in one house.
Ah, okay.
So this side, we start here.
Okay. A gramophone player there, you know, only the rich could afford that, and such a beautiful organ or piano.
Yeah, and probably had coal heating of the house. That was not many of the people afforded. They usually use dried animal
Dung
or dried peat.
Okay. So we didn't have a lot of wood back in the day, like we were talking about earlier. So we needed to. Nice Christmas cakes. You see the layer cake over here. My mom loves these. I was giving her, when I was visiting here in Westman Islands, I was giving her these because she loves these around Christmas, of course. And this is the Icelandic, kleina, or basically donut. This is a very similar thing to the donut. Kandísaki.
Candies,
Yeah. Very popular sugar candies. And of course, everybody who was something, you needed to make at least three types of cakes every Christmas. That was like a minimum thing. Okay. Here we have a nice little kitchen. I'm a big history nerd, so this strikes a nerve. See these cakes here? They have raisins in them, or sometimes
fruit
chocolate.
Cake, yeah.
What do you call it?
Fruit cake.
Fruit cake, yeah. Ávaxtakaka. Fruit cake.
Christmas cake.
Christmas cake. Fruit cake and Christmas cake. A little bit. Small toy.
Only a house with indoor toilet.
Yeah, okay, so yeah, only the rich had the indoor toilet, of course. Christmas cake of the small cookies. Do you know? Do you know the? I'm not a big cookie fan. Do you know the name of the small cookies earlier that was on the table?
Yeah, vanilla ringgir or vanilla rings.
Circles, okay.
And then just chocolate chip cookie, and I think specia. I'm not sure. It's like a white cookie with a chocolate drop in the middle. Specia.
Are they?
They're traditional cookies. Yeah.
As you hear, I'm not a big cookie guy, so I need help with that. Sorry about that. So a lot of the trees here were, of course, imported, and only the rich could afford. So people made all kinds of trees on their own. And we're going to see.
So this house was, built gradually, so that's why it's, got steps and stuff. Inside.
Yeah, okay, it's built in installments.
So this is the part where the widow rents out room.
Okay, so she rents out half of the house basically for
these 2 rooms.
So a nice Christmas setting over here. Well, why no trees? Asks Rachel. According to historians, there were plenty of trees actually when Iceland was first settled. Like 25%, 1/4 of the country was covered in trees, but small trees. But we basically wiped out the trees here. A little bit step here. We wiped out the trees here in a couple of centuries. We needed to have firewood. We needed to build some of it was used for building houses. And we basically wiped them out. And Iceland doesn't have the best soil, volcanic soil, very loose soil, and cold climate doesn't help with growing the trees. And so we basically became barren. See that tree? So this is a very typical tree. You see here it's made of wood, and then they would put a little bit of pines or whatever they had available. Some put like some little glittery papers, or Well, they were not always rich, these settlers that came to Iceland originally. We're talking about 874 or 900s when Iceland was fully settled. They were fleeing taxation of the Norwegian king, mostly. Most of them came, at least the males, came from Norway. And they were fleeing taxation of the Norwegian king and wanted to own their own land. They wanted to, because at the time, all land in Norway was basically taken, and they just wanted to make a living of their own. So people had sailed here to Iceland, to the land, and knew of it. So they decided to settle here. There are some. We believe that there were Irish monks here. There are mentions of stories of we call it papar, so Irish monks who were living here as hermits. It's mentioned in some really old books that they called it the ultima thule, or the ultimate isolation basically. But for some reason, all the Irish monks disappeared after the Vikings came here in the late 9th century, 870 to 900. Iceland was basically fully settled in around 900. So what do you think happened to the poor little monks? Did they just row away, or did the Vikings have something to do with it? What do you think?
I don't know. No idea.
Well, I think the Vikings had something to do with it. So here's the beautiful church down there. That's the old farm. Like I told you earlier, it's been there since the oldest part of the farm was built about 1850. But there are stories about the farm here since the 15th century. And this was kind of...
We found some archaeology that actually found some remains from the 11th century.
Well, okay, yeah. So we have all reason to believe that it's pretty old. And this was kind of like the way, when you were on your way to Reykjavik. Reykjavik is down there, like maybe a 25-minute drive. And this was like the way. You would ride here, you would stay here. This was like a guest house. And you would,
Yeah, everyone coming to Reykjavik would pass by here. So, and usually on foot. So it took one day approximately. So that was very convenient to stop here and spend the night. So they got some extra money, the farmers here, to rent rooms to the travelers.
I'm still getting used to having a small mic and trying to be quick enough to point it towards her. Sorry about that. I'm learning. We are learning how to be live streaming in COVID times. How to guide you guys when you can't travel to Iceland. I bring Iceland to you. So now this is my way of saying Merry Christmas to you all, guys. Bringing some Icelandic Christmas to you. Lynette asked how many hours of daylight we have here in December. It's only about 4.5 hours. So the sun rises around 11 a.m. and goes down about 3:30. But of course we have dusk. You see the dusk over there. So now the time is about 3:20. So the sun is going down, and but we have this dusk, of course, for maybe an hour before it gets real dark. Yes, Jazz, like an Airbnb. Yes, this was like an Airbnb. You would there was a halfway home. You would stay here overnight before you rode into town, which was down there, like I told you earlier. Took about yeah. You see the Hallgrímskirkja church maybe it's in the middle of the screen there. Small point. I'm not gonna zoom for you, sorry. But yeah. So it would take a day to ride into town from here. So you can imagine. So this church dates back from 1842, actually from the northwest of Iceland, called Silfrastaðir in Skagafjörður. And shall we take a look inside? Just about, Elsie, just how far from Reykjavik are we now? We are just about 20-minute drive, 25-minute drive. So we are in the middle of Reykjavik, but to the center of Reykjavik. Oh, we are greeted by some music. So Iceland is not a particularly religious nation now, but still we have Lutheran, like a state church, so everybody who's born is automatically registered to be a part of that church, and the government pays a little bit of money for each person that's registered for the church. But we are very open about religion, so you can switch to any religion here, and I think there are about 15,000 Catholics here, and about 5,000 of the so-called church that I'm a part of, called Ásatrú, which is basically a belief, or it's not a belief to the Old Norse gods, but it's more like because I'm a history nerd, so, and I like to support them. Can you hold? So guys, I got this friend of mine who's a musician here. We are both actually musicians, part-time at least. Not a lot to do for musicians when there's a 10 people congregation, man, and not a lot of guiding to be done, so we need to adapt. So we're gonna try out just a couple of verses of a song here. So this is a song that was found here in a book of songs or poems from the 16th century. So if something is an Icelandic Christmas song, this is for sure it. The name is Nóttin var svo ágæt ein. Nóttin var svo ágæt ein, í allri veröldu ljósið skein. Það nú heimsins þrautarmein, að þekkja nei sem væri. Með söng ég vögguna þína hræri. Með vísna söng ég vögguna þína hræri. Í Betlehem var það barnið fætt, sem best hefur andar sárin grætt. Vel hafa englar það rætt, sem endurlausnarinn væri. Með vísna söng ég vögguna þína hræri. Með vísna söng ég vögguna þína hræri. Takk fyrir. Takk fyrir Stefán minn. Takk. Smá klikk í byrjun en þetta reddast. Yeah, it was a little bit off. We didn't practice at all. It was a little off key there in the beginning, but you know, it is what it is. So the lyrics of the chorus is basically with by singing songs I move your crib, and well, I basically you'll fall to sleep or something like that. But it's talking about baby Jesus and so forth. Yeah, thank you, Cheryl. Cheryl. Bið að heilsa til Canada, Guðrún. So these are the old farmhouses over here. Yeah, the oldest part dates back from 1850, and the other part about 1900. Now this is a really beautiful song, of course.
So maybe tell them about this picture over there. It's made from human hair.
Okay.
One of the few in Iceland.
So a picture made of human hair. How well insulated are the old half farmhouses? Not very. They were made from, like we talked about earlier, not a lot of wood, so they made old farmhouses from turf and stone, so they're constantly being rebuilt. And can you imagine the sogginess in these old farmhouses? And so that's how we made skyr and butter in the old days. A little bit of a pantry here.
And this is the new kitchen.
The new kitchen, okay. I want to check out the farmhouse because I really enjoy. So we have been called the Saga Nation or the Story Nation. Our proudest things from the past is that we there were a couple of Icelanders who writes the Icelandic sagas, the poetic Edda, Snorri Sturluson, probably the most noteworthy person of Iceland ever, who and all the stories about the Norse gods came from these books. And I just want to show you these candles. They're making candles here. Candles were so precious here in the old days. Do you see the angel?
It's called King Candle.
King candle.
Kongakerti.
Okay.
And it represents the three wise men.
Ah.
It's a bit poorly made candle.
Well.
But it's made from
Animal fat.
Animal fat.
Yeah, tallow.
Yeah, tallow. So that's why the one of the most of the popular Yule strain, he likes to eat the candles.
Yeah, that's the candle bagger. He likes to eat these kind of fatty candles. They don't taste very well. I have tried. So, but you know, when you have a mother called Grilla, that kind of like her favorite food is old saddle over here, who likes to have children stew. Maybe you'll do with a candle or two.
And then we have the old kitchen.
Old kitchen over here. Oh, I like this one. And do you see what's here on the top? Just gonna point it out. Yeah, that's for sausage swiper. He liked his sausages, and they were usually hanged here in the rafters of the kitchen or all the outhouses, and being slowly smoked, or smoking them with, usually because we didn't have a lot of firewood. I'm repeating that constantly, with dried sheep dung.
We can see that over here.
Sorry? Yeah, okay. Basically, you know, there's not a lot of smell from this a little bit. And then we have the leg of lamb. That's kind of like one of the favorite Christmas foods here. A leg of lamb. Smoked leg of lamb. So this is like for Christmas dinner. So we eat our Christmas are celebrated on the 24th, Christmas Eve. That's when we give out the packages, and they are not the Santas that give the packages. They are just by each and every person. You basically gifts from your family and friends. But so this is the Christmas Day dinner. So a smoked leg of lamb with some usually boiled the day before, so it's cold, served cold. But then you have hot bechamel sauce, green beans, and the works. It's a beautiful tradition, and I'm actually going to my mother-in-law for this traditional Christmas dinner. I'll probably take a photo too. And yeah, these sausages were made out of sheep, sometimes horse. Yeah, lambakjöt á diski minn. Lamb meat. The Icelandic lamb is of course completely unique. Free grazing half of the year. I have to bow down here. Free grazing half of the year, so if something is like organic food, that's the Icelandic lamb. And the other half of the year, the farmers have been taking the grass and putting it into rolls, and then they feed them on the grass for the rest of the. Yeah.
So they'll be used as a stool to sit on when milking the cows.
Ah, okay.
So every part of the animal used, and also the hip on over there was a shovel.
Everything used. That's also a part of Icelandic food history, is that everything was used. You try to make sure that
nothing was wasted.
Nothing was wasted. Have you tried Icelandic lamb? Yeah, some of you guys, obviously, with the Icelandic names. There's a little bit of an attic over here. And let's go upside also. Takk fyrir það, Barði minn. Barði is one of my expert guys for Your Friend In Reykjavik, and we are so waiting for people to come and join us again. All of my guides are expert locals, so this was like a rock to make wool. We're here. Yeah, usually the farms in Iceland were, sorry for the quick spin, the farms in Iceland were quite small, so people would huddle up, like let's say this is a living room, but usually it was downstairs, it was not a second floor, unless the cattle or the livestock was downstairs, so to bring warmth to the top. But so this living room area or baðstofan, was kind of like where people came together in the evenings after maybe just everybody had their own bowls of food, and there was no kitchen table or anything like that. You would have your own bowls, and you would sit on your room and eat. Okay. Okay, snilt. Okay, I'm gonna tell you this story a little bit. So a little bit of a stiff chair, you see. So yeah, so we have been called the Silent Nation. The reason, like, we came together like this, and we would tell each other. Yeah, sorry. We would tell each other stories. Sorry. A little bit too quick turns. Hope you're not dizzy. Okay, perfect. So see that beautiful Christmas tree? A little bit dark here.
Wrapped with berry leaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Sortilink.
what's that in English again?
I'm not sure.
No, exactly. Ling.
Yeah.
Yeah, berry.
For blueberries.
Yeah, blueberry.
Grow from these.
So people were, enjoying evening together. They were making stuff. They were knitting or working, and telling each other stories. So that was a big tradition here too. So every person in would tell a story, and people got used to telling each other stories. That's one of the things that I think is a huge part of our Christmas book tradition, that we are so, 1 in 10 Icelanders writes a book in his lifetime. So obviously we're crazy about books, and you need to buy a lot of books before Christmas. I usually get 3 books, something like that. Yeah, it's a beautiful space. Icelandic knitting is, of course, or making wool sweaters and stuff like that is, of course, hugely popular here. My mother, when she was watching television, she was always knitting, using the extra time. Hi Sonja. No, this is not my permanent home. This is just a museum. I'm just looking.
This is the last owners of the house.
Okay.
Margaret Pétursdóttir.
Okay, there are stories that this woman actually roams this place like a ghost. She's not a bad ghost. She just like a.
So it doesn't bother you if you treat it right and you are hardworking. So then you can't see her.
Okay. but if you're naughty or if you're.
Yeah, then she disrupt the. One time there were guides and they were just hanging around and playing songs from a phone.
Okay.
They put the phone in a cup to hear the music better, and after a while, the phone, he jumped from the cup.
Okay.
So we can't, yes. But they decided to start working then, so she hasn't bothered them since.
Yeah, a lot of ghost stories in Iceland. Sorry, I'm brought too close. A lot of ghost stories revolve around the ghosts are not entirely visible. It's more like a poltergeist. They would scare sheep and horses and livestock and all kinds of those kind of mischief, and maybe put a fog in your path so you wouldn't see where you were going and get lost. But we have also ghost stories, of course, where there are really scary figures, but I'll tell you more about that when you join our live tours, Reykjavik Folklore Walk or something like that. Or maybe I'll do a live one someday. Question of mice. Well, I think it's a pretty hard thing to keep out when you have do you see these? So usually you would have these stone walls, and they would fill them up with moss and stuff and peat, and then you would have maybe there was wood a little bit in the roofs to keep them up, but usually just turf and stone. So you constantly needed to rebuild these farms. So there are not many really old farms standing unless you constantly repair them. Here in the summertime, there are sheep here and goats and I believe a cow and horses, just basically the Icelandic domestic animals.
And chicken all year round.
Okay. No problem, Becky. So cats, Diana, yeah, there were cats, and you know, they are a pretty big part of our folklore, because there are a couple of you know, we have of course the Christmas cat, the monster cat that the Sanas and the Grilla and Lapalu, they have in their cave, that likes to eat children who don't get new clothes during Christmas. So on Christmas Day and the days after, you need to be certain that you wear some new clothes. Then we have so-called urðarköttur, or beach cat is the closest, or what should we call it? Stone. It's basically a monster that if it looks at you, you can die. So there are a couple of like monstrosities that are, but of course they were probably just. So this is for the domestic animals over here.
For sheeps.
For sheeps.
Sheep.
And but yeah, some people kept cats at their home, on their farms, and but the only native animal to Iceland is the Arctic fox. Yeah, skyr is a tradition that was brought with the Vikings. So, but because of the isolation of the country, this tradition was only kept alive here in Iceland, of making skyr. Sorry, sometimes out of context. So this Icelandic dairy product, similar like Greek yogurt, called skyr. This tradition of making this is basically since the settlement of Iceland, came with the Norwegian settlers, but they stopped doing it in Norway centuries ago. But this tradition was kept here, making, and every farm had their own batch or way of making the skyr, but basically what they were using into it. So this is a poor family. Beginning of the 19th century.
And it's around 1950, the era here.
1950.
Yeah.
So Reykjavik only had about 1,000 people when in the 1900. So this is the Cathedral Church of Reykjavik, a replica of her, and there's a tradition of before Christmas, so like 15 minutes before 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve, there's a silence in the national radio for 15 minutes before the church bell tolls of this church here, and it tolls for a couple of, like 3 times I think, and then it's collaborated with basically a lot of churches around Iceland, and that's a sign before dinner time. So you wait for the church bells, and then
they ring in the Christmas.
Yeah, they ring in the Christmas, and then you say Merry Christmas, kiss, hug, and dig into the food. Hi Melissa. No, the mudslides are still worried about that. And I just want to tell you guys, we appreciate tipping. If you be so kind, all the tipping today will go towards the Árbær in Seyðisfjörður, because of these mudslides there. I'm losing. I forgot to mention it. Unbelievable. Drottin blessi heimilið. Lord bless the home. Yeah, so if you're so kind enough to tip, we have a PayPal account. I'll put it on in the comments later, and yeah, we're gonna support the search and rescue group in Seyðisfjörður, the place to the east that has several mudslides. So the PayPal account is YFIR Iceland Um, yeah, I'll report him after this. I don't have a moderator now, and it's, Facebook doesn't really answer to the reports of the spammers. Yeah, hi Cindy. So there were mudslides in the east of of Iceland. At least 10 houses collapsed and destroyed, and this town needed to be evacuated. 700 people. Nobody lost their lives, but there are details in my post earlier today on Facebook. So if you would like to donate something, like I said, all tipping for today and tomorrow will go towards this search and rescue group that is located there, and trying to support them, because they will need all the support they can to rebuild the town. Can you imagine just a couple of days before Christmas to need to evacuate your home, or just your home's destroyed? And this is one of the facts that we can see, that climate change is happening here in Iceland. We see the glaciers are retreating faster than ever, and now usually when there's snowing to the north and east, and now it's a lot of rain. On an average year in Reykjavik, annually there's about 870 millimeters of rain, like an average year. Last 5 days in Seyðisfjörður to the east, it's been 570 millimeters. So we're talking about more than half of what Reykjavik gets in a year. They have been dealt with in 5 days. Oh, here's a small tree with packages. Me and my family, we just collected our tree today. I went to a Christmas markets here and picked up one for the group that is growing trees here around Reykjavik, to support them. So this is the store of the place. Yeah, so please, if you want to support, please check out the posts that I did earlier today about. So if you have any extra cash laying around, I know it's COVID time, so a lot of people have been affected by that. So this is not a demand, just an idea. So all products are lowest priced. Candies, which is like the sugary thing that we saw earlier. So things to make clothes out of, and candy. It says here, many types of candy. And here we have everything that you need. Wheat, chocolates, souvenirs, coffee in big letters. We are crazy about coffee here. Yeah, Susan, I agree with you about the licorice candy. That's one of my favorite things, candy-wise in Iceland. And this is a type of that, opal. Pretty old sign for the opal over here. And this is a very popular thing here in the.
It is closed, but we just open for.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just to take a look, because when I'm here, it's always closed.
Yeah, sorry. It's open in the summertime.
The Icelandic language is pretty similar to to Sweden and Norway, but this Old Norse was only kept alive here in Iceland because of the isolation of the country. That helped in keeping it pristine, while Norwegian and Swedish, so I got influenced by German and a couple of other languages. We kept our language pretty pure, so we can still read some of the old manuscripts that were written. Well, at least some words. I'm maybe overselling it a little. Don't let the truth ruin a good story. Another advertisement for the opal, the licorice thing. I think I'm gonna have some opal later on, Angie, just because this reminded me of it. So hi guys, I have my mic in my hand because it's a bit difficult to clip it in when you're singing and all kinds of stuff, so bear with me. So yeah, this has been a little bit of a peek of Christmas in the old days here in Árbæjarsafn open air museum. Hope you enjoyed some of it. I'll be back tomorrow for Christmas in Iceland, so we're going to be walking in the city center of Reykjavik, and then I'll tell you more about our Christmas traditions, like modern days and some folklore and stuff like that. There was a problem with a little bit of technical problems last time, but I think I have managed to fix it. But maybe, when you get downtown, you don't know about the 4G signal there. So, but hopefully, pray to God, þetta reddast. If you get knocked down, you try again. So yeah, I'm signing off. Valur, your friend in Reykjavik. Remember, if you have if you can tip. So because I'm gonna give out to ISAR after this weekend and to support them. Takk fyrir mig. Not hitting the right button. Well, takk fyrir.